to share with you when my brother first died. I'd not been to a cemetery since my brother died several years ago. Just couldn't go, just wouldn't go. Do a bunch of funerals. You guys know I do a funeral, probably 2 funerals per week. Churches are not having funerals, but we have them. But I just don't go to the cemetery. And Brother and Sister Keaton last week walked me through that process, and I went to the cemetery for the first time. And I didn't realize, I thought I just didn't have anything to do out there, but I didn't realize again that I was grieving still my brother's death after this many years. I loved my brother. He was a very cool guy. And what I have felt like years later, but I just really want to focus on the first few months now. But it was unbelievable that I found out that somebody could continue living with a half-torn heart. With your heart torn half away, you still have to go. You have a heartbeat, but you don't seem to have much life for things like that anymore. And my question was, how can a person keep going and survive all of these years? And time keeps moving, and minute by minute it keeps moving. And sometimes you just want to take the minute hand of that clock and just rip it off. But when you rip off the minutes, then the hours keep going and the months keep going on and on and on. And you sometimes, if you're going through the first few weeks of grieving right now, grandmother, mom, dad, a spouse, a child, an uncle, or whatever it is you have lost, you have these unfocused days. Sometimes people have to get you back on track. Your memory's a little short. The good thing is that you're gonna live, and you're going to be glad that you did. The bad news is the moments of pain are going to still be with you sometimes 15 or 20 years later. When these moments flood in, it's different. When you first get the news, you can't really absorb it. So I want to go into 4 areas that basically happen these first 4 weeks that you're grieving. First is going to be shock. You're going to deal with shock. One thing about grief is it makes you appreciate the wonderful design which your mind and body were created. Maybe somewhere along the way you became so familiar with physical shock that you understood that if you put your tongue on the end of a battery, it shocks you. Well, it's a good thing to know that your tongue works like that you still have those sensations and those feelings. There's a thing that I'm going to call grief shock. And it's real. And it's a merciful thing to your body. And I think that it's okay to have shock because it's like that circuit in your house. You know how you can put too many things in a wall and it triggers the breaker? That's what shock does. It lets you know that sometimes things are getting a little overloaded. So what I'm going to say, because we know that shock is one thing that you may still be dealing with the grieving, is that you ought to be grateful for this numbness that comes with this horrible news. It's your mind's way of saying, I want to put a sign on the door that says, I'm going out to lunch for a while. Please do not disturb me. But your body now, your mind is saying, this kind of thing affects me. Believe it or not, there are some people. I have some neighbors right across the street from this church who, if you told them anything shocking right now, they wouldn't get it because their minds are not intact like that. So maybe at some point, if you can find anything to be grateful for, God, thank you that my grief shock system still works. That's the first thing you're going to go through or experience. Maybe it's shock. Second thing you go through is called denial. And even after all these years, sometimes I still am in denial about, my brother's death. It couldn't have happened like that, and something in your family may have happened a little bit more tragic. And you kind of think, this didn't happen to my boy. This did not happen to my son. This couldn't have happened to our family. And so your mind is trying to help you deny it. And your mind's efforts to deny what happened to you, that's normal. It's natural, and it's beneficial. There is nothing wrong with you. Quit trying to make yourself someone who's having issues that make you a different person. Okay? If it keeps going on for several years and you don't ever accept the fact that that person's gone, then you're going to get, prayerfully, some professional help. But at first, that denial is normal. You just deny it. You think someone's going to come around the door. You think you're going to get a phone call. Okay? The third thing that is going to go on, everyone would go, is called anger. You've gone through grief. And some of you said, well, it's been 2 months now. It's been 3 months now. And no one, I'm the first person probably ever in your life that's really talked to you about this, because you've done an excellent, wonderful job of keeping it inside and not talking to anybody about it. But there's anger. And when you've been hurt, the most natural thing in the world to do is to want to hurt somebody else. And unfortunately, the easiest people to hurt are those who are nearby you. They're very near you. And why are they near you? Because they love you. And why do you hurt them? Because they're close to you. Everyone else who says, I love you and I'm close to you, when you're going through grief, they pretty much go away. But the people who are really close to you, they catch a lot of stuff from you because you're angry. And you may hear some, I'm going to use the word venomous, toxic words that normally wouldn't come out of you. And you'll say those to people closest to you, maybe even your children, your best friends, your spouse, your family members, whoever there. They may get some words out of you that you have never said before. Not if, but when you go through that, just say you're sorry. You're hearing it today. God has spoken to you today saying it's you. You're hurting people close to you. And they're going to stay close to you because they love you, not because they want to be. They love you. So you, real quick when you can, just say, I'm sorry. And recognize that the human urge to lash out, that's what's causing it. And just let them know, okay? It's simply your reaction to pain. You're angry. And I'm just going to say this to you, whoever you are, wherever you are, cut yourself some slack. Okay? Wait a minute. Wait just a while. You're going to get better. But cut yourself some slack. You loved. The last thing that I want to mention on this segment this Sunday morning is support. Another area that you're going to go through is the thought of needing support. Now, let me say this about that. Well, we've covered shock. It's one thing that you'll go through. Denial is another. These are all natural. These are all real. There's nothing wrong with you. And anger is another. But support, dealing with support is going to be another thing that'll happen probably now if you're several weeks into grieving. Because people really want to do things to help you during this time. They genuinely really do. And I don't want to talk about all your shady friends and people who are, I want to talk about the real people. There are some people who really want to help you. 2 words to you. Let them. Let them. Even though our natural tendency is to want to be sufficient, self-sufficient, but if you can, just let them help you. If it's just to make up your bed, if it's just to wash your car. You don't like to impose on other people, because if you're a grieving person like I have grieved, you're used to doing everything and helping people yourself. But accept their support. Accept it now and accept their support in the future. You got to keep reminding yourself that if the situation were reversed, you'd be just aching for the opportunity to help somebody. That's just the way you are. And so you may have covered yourself with friends that are like that. They're just hurting to help you. And if you can, just let them do so. Let them do so. Okay? So I just want to talk about the things that you'll feel in these few moments of grief. Minutes and weeks. Last week we talked about children. This week we just want to talk about some of the weeks that happen. You go through shock, denial, anger, and support.